Hey everyone, let's dive into some more discussion about coaching and transformation and all the things. So, I always love to know where you're logging in from. So, as you join us either live or on the replay here, let me know how you're doing, where you're logging in from, anything else that you want to share. We love the interaction, the engagement. So, please ask questions. If there's anything in particular that really lands for you, then let us know that. Today, we're going to talk about sales, really, sales and messaging. And one of the thing, or why so many people struggle with this concept of being successful as a coach in your sales and messaging and marketing by engaging people with what they want versus being successful in actually changing their life by giving people what they need. And this is a perpetual challenge for marketing in general because most people buy what they want rather than what they need. What people need, especially if we're talking about transformation and healing and coaching and all that stuff, um, it's not sexy. It's not exciting. In fact, for some people, it's actually scary because it means rolling up your sleeves and looking at yourself and doing some heavy lifting sometimes. And because of that, we just want the quick fixes. Now, that's not unique to the coaching industry. I think we always want the quick fixes. We want the mop that goes faster and cleans more and all that than all the other previous mops. And we want the little Roomba thing that goes around and we don't even have to touch and it just vacuums. Like, we always want the shortcuts, right? So that's nothing that we're ever going to be able to get away from. But if you are a coach or you want to be a coach, and actually, I'd love for you to let me know also, if you are a coach, how long have you been coaching? And by that, I mean like actually working with clients. If you are just wanting to be a coach, then let me know that you're just in your early phases of just wanting to be a coach. So if you are a coach, the product of coaching should help people change their lives. And if you're selling something that's going to help people change their lives, well, then you need to work on what people need, not just continually give them what people want. If all we do is sell people what they want, we're not actually going to be doing anything that changes their lives for the most part. And therefore, your product is, you're not going to be able to build a business by just hanging signs on the door, just telling people, yeah, it's possible to just, just snap your fingers a few times and do a few affirmations here and there, and then your whole life will change, right? You're not going to be able to build a business with any kind of long-lasting success, nor are you going to be able to make an impact. So with coaching, there's a lot of variables that make it unique compared to other sales and other industries and other marketing tactics and all that stuff. And that's because the coaching product is designed to change the life, and you are the product, right? It's designed to change the life of the customer, but you're the one that's delivering that. So if you want to change the life of a customer, you have and client, you have to understand how to change a life. I mean, you got to know how to do that work, right? But if you want to be successful as a business and get people to buy your products and services, you need to know how to speak to what it is that they will buy. And most people will buy what they want before they'll buy what they need. So there's this perpetual dance of how do you combine those two things, right? And the simple answer is to just speak to people's outcomes, right? Your coaching is going to help them achieve something that they really want. And so the more that you know about what it is that they want, and you know who they are and you know how they're thinking, then you can say, my coaching program will help you lose this amount of pounds in this amount of time, or my coaching program will help you get rid of this amount of debt or increase your success in whatever area of life, increase your connection, whatever. So the simple answer is speak to the outcomes. And most coaches don't speak to the outcomes early on, especially because they want to speak to the process. And that's a part of the journey. I think, when you learn a process, that's kind of what is saturated in your mind. So you just want to speak to the process. You want to talk about limiting beliefs. You want to talk about values. You want to talk about the work that people need to do. You want to talk about, if you're doing deep work, you want to talk about healing childhood stuff or whatever. And that's the process. And people don't really care about the process. They want the outcome, right? So that's the simple solution. Speak to the outcome. However, if you don't understand the depths of human behavior, then you're not going to be able to speak to the outcome and still have it come from this place of what people still need. So in order to help put this in perspective, an analogy that we use a lot is the difference between snorkeling and scuba diving, right? If you snorkel, you're at the surface of the water and you've got this little contraption that allows you to breathe, maybe, I don't know, a foot or 18 inches or 2 feet, I don't know, above your head. And so your head can go below the water only to the depth where the top of the tube is still above the water, so you can still breathe, right? And then you can, if you've got a mask on, you can see all kinds of stuff down there, but you can't approach it because your breathing apparatus won't allow you to. If you go down a little bit, you'll take on water, you won't be able to breathe, and you'll have to come back up. Whereas scuba diving allows you to have a self-contained breathing apparatus where you've got oxygen in the tank and you can dive at depth and still breathe. And in coaching, we've got snorkeling, which is the surface level. That's when you're dealing with people's circumstances, just kind of more of the symptoms. And then you've got scuba diving, which is much more about systems. That's where we go deeper into belief work and values and meta programs, and the exercises that you do are just, they can handle the depths of what people are going through, right? So within that analogy, you want to speak to people at the surface level. That's where their benefits are. That's where their outcomes are. So you want to speak to them up here at the surface level. But if you've never scuba dived before, then all you can do is speak to them from the shallowness of snorkeling. And what I can guarantee you, they'll be able to tell. They'll be able to tell that this is just another surface level thing. It's just telling me that I can have this thing that I really want, but there's no depth to it. They'll be able to tell. But if you know how to scuba dive, but then you can still speak to the surface of the water, now your messaging will have depth to it because it's coming from the depths of human behavior. And I haven't been through every coaching program. Obviously, that'd be impossible to do. I've talked to a few people about this, and I think what's happened in our coaching industry over the last 15 to 20 years because of marketing is that we're meeting people at the surface of the water more than we're teaching them how to scuba dive. And so we're telling people, yeah, coaching is really simple. Making money is really easy. Sales is really easy. I can teach you how to not have to deal with all the stuff that you don't want to deal with. And so we're basically like flattening the experience of coaching to match people's desires. And that's why there's so many programs that will appease the shortcut desires that people have. And they'll say that, over the course of a weekend, you can have this certificate and then you'll be able to help people change their life. Of course you can, right? And actually in that analogy, I don't know what it is, what the details are, but if you just want to snorkel, all you got to do is find snorkel gear on the shelf of a store, and then you can go out and snorkel. You can't do that with scuba diving. You have to be trained. You have to know what's going to happen. You have to understand what your mind is going to do when it goes down to the depths of the water. And people that learn how to deep dive, that's a whole nother level of training. So it requires a lot more to be able to go play at, and operate at depth in this scuba diving analogy, but also in coaching. It requires a lot more training to understand how to coach at depth, how to coach the deeper issues. And that training is what's missing for a lot of people. that training will actually help your messaging and your marketing. That might not make sense unless you're following, this analogy that I'm making. I don't know that I've ever made this connection until this morning, actually, knowing the topic that we're going to talk about, that we have to understand what's going on at the deeper levels of human behavior in order to then be able to message properly at the shallower depths, because this is where most people are. So you have to speak to them where they are, but you've got to speak to them from depth. And that's going to give your message a richness. It's going to give your, like energetically, you're actually going to be, this might not make any sense unless you've experienced it, but energetically, you're going to have rootedness in the energy of your message. And so you can still speak at more symptom level discussions. Like you can talk about losing weight, and you can talk about money, and you can talk about communication. You can talk about those things, success in a business or something, but you're going to be able to talk about them from a deeper level of understanding. And that's going to allow you to message things just slightly different or wildly different, and they'll be able to tell. So if you really want to be able to speak to people's desires, but deliver their needs, you've got to understand the deeper training. There is no other way. Otherwise, you're just faking it. And if you can only speak to their shallower desires, then when they do buy your programs or they hire you as a coach, you won't be able to deliver their needs because you don't understand all this stuff. And I think most coaching programs, this is just my hallucination, this is a theory of mine, but it's based on being in the industry for so long and going through some things and some certain trainings and talking to a lot of people. I think because the customers want it, I think most certification programs deliver the quick certificate. How quickly can we give this person a sense of confidence and get them a certificate? But the training is usually kind of following this if this then that philosophy, right? So if somebody has this issue, do this exercise. If somebody says this, do that with them. If they ask this question, here's how you answer that question. And we get asked those questions all the time, and it's a function of just the way our brain works. We all want these if-then scenarios to be reality, because then we don't have to think. We have confidence that we have the right answers, and then we won't mess up. So we love if this, then that laws, or they're not really laws, they're rules, but we would love for them to be laws, because then all we have to do is memorize responses. We just have to know if somebody has this issue, then I, as a coach, will just do this thing with them, and then, I'll change their life. The reality is, when you get a deep dive training, you're going to know how to think when whatever the variables are, and the variables change between people. And then you'll have the capacity to help really anybody with anything, but you've got to understand the depth of human behavior. And so one of the things that we do in our certification programs is we teach more about human behavior than we even do about coaching exercises. And we don't even get into coaching exercises until you understand human behavior. Because what's the point of learning how to influence and manipulate human behavior if you don't understand human behavior yet? And I think a lot of coaching certifications, because of the way our brains work and because what we want to be reality is so prevalent in the marketplace, if human behavior does get taught, it gets taught like secondarily after we've told the wannabe coaches how to coach, right? But how to coach humans is useless unless you understand humans. So what I mean by this specifically is you've got to understand human behavior. You have to understand what causes people to do the things that they do in order to then help them change that stuff. And if you don't understand the depth of human behavior, then the shallow rules that you might learn, if they work, it's going to be accidental. It's just going to be like, just well, I was trying to look for another word for accidental. We'll just call it accidental. It'll be by chance, basically, right? If they work, because we're just playing at the surface level. And then another thought that I had today is that, like, one of the most common testimonials and comments that we get about our certification programs is how people experience a personal breakthrough as they go through the process. And the reason is because of everything I just talked about. When you learn about human behavior, you're going to experience your version of a breakthrough or connecting of the dots or a realization, because we're talking about human behavior, and you're going to consume it as a student and apply it to your life first. And then you're going to learn how to, on top of that understanding, how to use it as a leader, as a coach. It would be like, I was a school teacher for a while. It would be like in class, if actually this is kind of true, on your way to becoming a teacher, if all you needed to know is how to teach, but you didn't need to understand the curriculum. And that is actually more prevalent than I wish it were. You don't actually have to show, like when I was a math teacher, I didn't have to show proficiency in the curriculum. Now, part of that is because I already had a degree from college, and so I think there was an assumption that I've already got proficiency. But any of you that have gone through any kind of schooling system, just because you make it out of a school doesn't mean you're necessarily proficient. And when you might be proficient in a certain time, but as time goes on, you've lost that proficiency. But I never had to prove that I was proficient in math, that I remember, at least if it wasn't a big part of my certification process. I just needed to learn how to teach. And if you learn how to teach, but you don't have a depth of proficiency in the subject matter, you're not going to be that good of a teacher. Then all you can do is just try to make sure that the students, never ask confronting questions that you might not be able to answer. And you're focused way too much on discipline. You're focused on how the classroom is running, and you're really coming more from an ego place of how am I doing as a teacher, not are they getting it as a student. And you can't know if they really get it as a student if you don't have a depth of proficiency and understanding in the subject matter, because you won't even be able to check for understanding, right? And what we do is go, hey, do you guys understand this? But how do they know when they don't understand it? They only understand what they understand. So yeah, the right answer is yes. And as a coach, you're a leader and a teacher in a very similar way. So you need to have a depth of understanding in human behavior if that's the classroom that you're going to teach in. And I think most certification programs don't do that, which is one of the reasons why people don't have a lot of personal breakthroughs at depth when they go through the learning. And also, there's not a rooted understanding of the curriculum. There's not a rooted understanding of human behavior such that you can play up here with your language and your messaging, but know that when we talk about relationship issues, we're really talking about identities and beliefs and values, right? But you don't have to necessarily speak scuba diving language. You can speak snorkeling language, but you have scuba diving knowledge. And scuba diving knowledge matched with snorkeling language is a powerful combination in your marketing. And it will be a powerful combination in your sales, because when you do get into a conversation with people, they will be able to tell that you have them from the depths of your scuba diving training, even though right now you're at the surface of the water talking about the symptoms, right? So that capacity of holding people is more of an energy that people can tell when it's not there, but they're not consciously aware of it usually. There's just an energy of trust that's either there or not there. So that whole process of understanding the depths of human behavior, then going back up to the surface to speak about it, is the way that you're going to be able to understand and deliver what people need so that you can make the impact that you want. You can have clients continue to come back to you because you're actually doing really transformational work, but speak to them in the language that they want to hear and the depth that they understand. The other piece is, just because people want to hear about the outcomes even people that want to know more of the deeper work, if people have only snorkeled or they've only swam at the surface of the water, they can't understand some of the deep concepts yet. So even if you have a way to language the deeper concepts in a simple way for people that understand that depth, or people that are playing down there, other people might want to know, but they just can't understand it because they've never been down there before. And that's another like skill, communication skill, that a lot of business owners don't have, specifically entrepreneurs and coaching, because they haven't done it this way. They haven't gone to the depth of understanding everything that they want to teach about and then learn how to language it up here. When you do that, you'll be able to speak to what people want, but deliver what people need. And even, well, not necessarily more important than that, but what people need will be in what they want as you speak about it. The reason that's really important is because you need consistency, right? The sign that you put on the outside of the door doesn't need to be the exact same thing that you do inside the classroom, but it can't be in opposition of it. It can't feel like a bait and switch. So when you've got these deeper level concepts infused in the more shallow communication, at least they're coming from, they're attached to each other. So there won't be this jarring, shocking sense of, you told me this is what I'm going to get, but this is what I'm going to get. And those don't go together because they were formed from each other and with each other. So the depth of understanding is infused in the language of what people want. And therefore you're going to be able to invite them in, whether they're taking the stairs down into the water or they're jumping off the diving board into the deep end, but there will be a consistency because it's more of a continuum in the language. And that's because the fruits are coming from the roots, right? The snorkeling language is coming from scuba diving knowledge. And that way you can continue to just help them go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's all aligned. Alignment is the key piece here that's at play. So I hope all of this makes sense to you. If you want more, we're going to do a mastery class later today, which is the 17th. So if you're listening to this early, then you can join us live for that. If it's too late, you're listening to this later, then you can get the replays of all of those. You can just let us know. You can comment here. You can send an email, info@coachshansmith.com. You can go to our website, join any of our email lists. You can find me everywhere online at Coach Sean Smith. That's my handle everywhere. So we're pretty easy to get a hold of. And we're doing a 2-hour mastery class later tonight. We're going to teach more coaching concepts that you understand about human behavior. And then you're going to see a coaching demo, at least one coaching demo of us bringing somebody in and just doing a real live, unscripted, unplanned, unedited coaching process. So you can really see what in the moment coaching looks like, especially understanding some of the depths that we're talking about. So that's the mastery class. And you don't have to opt in for that. It's just a link that we're sending everybody. So get on our email list if you're not on our email list, so that you get the notification that goes out when the mastery class starts. And then finally, we do have a 5-day deep dive training. Everything that I've been talking about conceptually, we have that training coming up, and it starts in 7 days from today. It's April 24th through the 28th. It's a deep, deep dive experience of human behavior. You will experience a lot of your own shifts and breakthroughs. I mean, it's 5 days of like transformational swimming, right? In the ocean, right? You're swimming in the sea of transformation. And you're going to experience so much in that process, but then you're going to understand it from a deeper level so that when you do coach, you'll be able to make the shifts in your languaging and your messaging and your posts and your communications of any kind and in your sales that I've been talking about in this video. So it's a very, very powerful experience. It's 5 days. It's all online, so you don't have to travel. You can stay where you are and join us online. It's the second phase, which is an immersive training that you need for your development into a successful transformational coach. If you don't have an immersive training, I say this with all love and advocacy, stop pretending that you want to do this work. And I don't mean that in a dismissive way, like you're trying to fool people or fool yourself. But if you're not willing to go through the process, then you can't succeed. So if you don't have immersive training, deep dive training, you cannot be a transformational coach. And I'm saying that because they won't hire you. I'm just saying that because they won't trust you. People won't trust you. People won't hire you. And so it's not possible to build a sustainable, long-lasting, successful, transformational coaching business without being immersed and proficient at a deep level yourself as a transformational coach. So I'm not saying this from some philosophical place or, some ethical or moral, high ground argument. No. I'm just saying if you don't have that, they won't hire you. So if it's not possible to succeed without this one element, you either do the element or don't try this path, because it's just not going to work. So ECCP is the name of this event, Elite Coaching Certification Program. And that is phase 2, deep dive immersive training. You can go to coachshansmith.com/ECCP to see all of the information that we have there. You can book a call at coachshansmith.com/book-my-call. If you have questions about that event specifically or where you are in the coaching journey, you want some one-on-one support and advice of what we think your next steps are, then you can book that call. Or you can just sign up. If you know that you want to do it, you get 2 years. So if you can't make next week, you have 2 years to use the ticket. Even if the prices go up in the future, you'll have, the price locked in here. And we also have a promo going on right now where you can get 2 tickets. So if you have anybody that might want to do this work as well, you can get 2 tickets and save $1,000 off the ticket price of 2 tickets. Rather than buying 2 individual tickets and paying the full price for each of them. So you can check all of that out on our website. You can ask any questions that you have. You can post here or get in touch with us anyway. And hopefully something in this video has landed for you so that you understand the process that you've signed up for, whether you understand you signed up for it or not. But you have to, like the biggest thing that came out for me, which is a new phrase, is snorkeling language with scuba diving knowledge. Snorkeling language with scuba diving knowledge. If you can do that, implement that, you can absolutely create a phenomenal, successful, long-lasting, fulfilling business as a coach, but you've got to do the process that's required to get there. So I'm going to stop there, everyone. I hope to see some of you in ECCP or answer other questions, and see some of you at the mastery class later on today. And we'll see you in another video. Take care.